Working late, answering emails at night, never really switching off. Many lawyers think that's just part of the job. But very often, these are the first signs of burnout. Hello, I'm Sarah-Jane Tasteyre. I'm a lawyer, mediator, and lawyer supervisor. On this channel, I talk about what this profession does to us as professionals and as people. Today, I want to talk about something that affects lawyers, but that we still talk far too little about: burnout in the legal profession. So in this video, I'll show you what burnout actually looks like for lawyers through very real situations many of you will recognize. I'll also explain one very common sign of burnout that many lawyers simply interpret as a normal fatigue. I'll explain why the most dedicated lawyers are often the ones most at risk of burnout. And most importantly, I'll show you how professional supervision can help prevent this kind of exhaustion. Burnout is not simply being tired. It's a deep professional exhaustion that develops gradually over time. Usually, three things start to appear: emotional exhaustion, a sense of distance or detachment for cases or clients, and the feeling that you are no longer as effective as you used to be. What is difficult is that it doesn't happen suddenly. It develops slowly, sometimes even without us noticing. In the legal profession, burnout doesn't always look the way we imagine. It often shows up in a very concrete way. Here are a few examples. For instance, the lawyer who works late every night, answers emails at midnight, and the first thing he does in the morning is look at his emails and say, "I just don't have any energy anymore." The family lawyer who handles a series of emotional, intense cases like high conflict separation, children arrangements, domestic abuse. Gradually, they'll start to feel emotionally drained. They keep working, but feel increasingly detached from their cases. The associate who doubts themselves all the time, check 3 times, afraid of making a mistake, and who ends up working longer and longer hours to compensate that doubt. It can be the experienced lawyer who begins to feel a kind of detachment. Cases becomes just files, clients are just problems. These are all early signs of professional exhaustion. So why are lawyers particularly exposed to burnout? There are several reasons. First is time pressure and responsibility. Deadlines are tight, stakes are high, and mistakes can have serious consequences. Second, there's the emotional weight of certain cases. In areas such as family law or criminal law, lawyers are regularly exposed to very difficult human situations for which they are not trained. And there is also something we talk about less often. The lawyers who are most committed to their work are those who genuinely want to do the best for their clients, are often the ones who put the most pressure on themselves. And that is exactly why they can become more vulnerable to burnout. This is where professional supervision can play a very important role. Supervision is a confidential place where a lawyer can step back and reflect on their practice, and that can make a significant difference. As I just mentioned, in some areas of the law, lawyers are exposed to extremely difficult human situations. In family law, for example, the stakes for clients are high: fear of losing contact with a child, high conflict separation, domestic abuse situations. In criminal law as well, lawyers may be representing victims of very serious violence, including victims of rapes or incest. Listening to these stories, carrying these cases, trying to support clients as best as possible can create a significant emotional load. Supervision offers a space where lawyers can put some of that emotional weight down, reflect on what those cases bring up internally, and prevent that emotional burden from building up over time. Many lawyers face their difficulties alone. In the legal profession, it can be quite difficult to talk about situations that weigh on us, a challenging case, a difficult relationship with a client, or simply a professional doubt. There is often a fear of appearing vulnerable, of giving the impression that we are not fully in control. Of course, lawyers sometimes talk about these things with their colleagues over coffee after a hearing or with lawyer friends. Those conversations can help, but they are often brief and informal. You share something quickly, exchange a few words, and then everybody goes back to their cases. And there is rarely the time or the space to really explore what's going on. This can be true also for partners and senior lawyers. When you carry responsibility, it can feel as if you always have to hold everything together. Supervision offers a different kind of space, a dedicated, confidential time to reflect on these situations without judgment. Because in the legal profession, we often talk about our clients' difficulties, but much more rarely about the difficulties of the lawyers themselves. When pressure becomes constant, lawyers can end up working on autopilot, moving from one case to the next, from one meeting to another, from one email after another, without really taking time to reflect on how they're practicing. A lawyer may realize that they're taking always very demanding clients or emotional heavy cases, and over time that creates a constant pressure. In supervision, it becomes possible to explore questions like, how do I set boundaries? How do I manage certain clients? How do I protect my energy when cases are particularly intense? And very often this helps lawyers regain clarity in their professional practice. You might remember that at the beginning of this video, I mentioned a very common sign of burnout that many lawyers interpret as normal fatigue. Very often, it's a tiredness that never really goes away, even after a weekend, even after a holiday, it's there. Other early signs can include increased irritability, for instance with family members, difficulty concentrating, and the feeling of being overwhelmed by cases that used to be manageable. Supervision can help lawyers recognize these warning signs and address them before exhaustion develops into full burnout. Supervision isn't about learning to become a better legal technician. Lawyers are already highly trained. Supervision is about taking care of your professional practice, reflecting on how you work, on how certain situations affect you, and how to maintain a sustainable way of practicing law. In a profession that is as demanding as ours, having a space that can make a real difference. It's a way to continue practicing law over the long term without burning out. If you recognize yourself in some of the situations I've described, you are not alone. Supervision is precisely a space where lawyers can step back, reflect on their practice, and prevent professional exhaustion. If you'd like to know more about professional supervision for lawyers, you can book a discovery call. The link is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has been helpful.